And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, President Trump's cabinet on Capitol Hill delivering what is a master class on how to deal with unhinged radical Democrats. Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, absolutely embarrassing several left-wing radical lawmakers. We have the highlights of that all coming up straight ahead. And later, I'll give you my take on so-called journalist Scott Pelley, who was fired by CBS News and is now free to be himself. A far-left hack in love with himself. Maybe MSDNC is next. But we begin tonight with the troubling news for the Democratic Party. Across this country, Democrats, they are now desperately counting on a very strong midterm election so they can stay relevant and not completely lose their sanity. But a big new poll from Marquette, it should serve as a dire warning to Democrats. In just 1 month, the Democrats' lead on the generic congressional ballot has been completely wiped out, a 9-point swing in favor of Republicans. The only apparent reason, Americans are now slowly learning about some of the extreme candidates the Democrats are not only running, but protecting and defending and endorsing. Now, we'll get to some big developments surrounding Graham Platner and James Tallarico in a moment, and we'll get reaction from Pennsylvania Senator, seemingly the only Democrat with common sense left, John Fetterman, who just called Platner a creep. And he is. But first, I want to introduce you to a congressional candidate from New Jersey's 12th district who just won last night's primary. His name is Dem Hamawy. Now, he might well be the new face of the Democratic Party, backed by AOC, the squad. He is a devout socialist with an obsessive hatred for the world's only Jewish state. And that's not all. In 1994, Hamawy proudly volunteered for an organization detailed, in that report. It was called the 9/11 Commission Report, as a group that, quote, covertly provided financial and other support for terrorist activities. Now, during a raid on its offices overseas, government agents, quote, uncovered weapons, letters from al-Qaeda leaders, and a photo of Osama bin Laden himself. Now, before Hamawy's involvement with that organization, he became associated with a notorious al-Qaeda operative. You might recall Andy McCarthy prosecuted this case, the blind sheikh case, who was ultimately a guy that died in prison, but not before Hamawy testified on his behalf in court. And we'll have more on that in a moment. More recently, in 2024, Hamawy volunteered at a hospital in Gaza, just months before Israeli forces located a key Hamas tunnel system directly under the hospital building. And tonight, in a statement, Hamawy's campaign referred to reports about his alleged extremist ties, gross and bigoted, and cited his military service and rescue efforts after 9/11. But keep in mind, Hamawy just appeared with Hassan Piker. America deserved 9/11. Remember that guy? And called for the American military complex to be dismantled, along with ICE, of course. Take a look.
We are spending $1 trillion, on our defense / Department of War / Department of War Crimes now. And what we need to do is spend that in healthcare and spend it in education. We need to abolish ICE. And so not only do we need to, abolish it, but we need to dismantle the DHS completely.
Now, the Democratic Party has never been more extreme, and it's about to get even worse. Here now with the full report, our very own Kevin Corke. We give him the, challenging assignments, examining the mindset of crazy people. But anyway, that's my commentary, not yours. Kevin, in D.C. tonight.
Great to see you, my friend. Now, Hamawy did win a crowded Democratic primary in New Jersey's 12th. He's obviously the heavy favorite to win in the general come November. But the victory, Sean, is renewing scrutiny about his past relationship with, among others, Omar Abdel-Rahman, a.k.a. the Blind Sheikh, the radical cleric convicted on terrorism-related charges, whose followers, you may recall, carried out the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Now, his critics, Hamawy's, say voters deserve to know why a future lawmaker, most likely, chose to support a figure at the center of one of America's most infamous terrorism cases. Worse, he's backed by the so-called squad in Congress, adding to an increasingly troubling pattern within the Democrat Party. Here's a party, Sean, where there's an operative who allegedly volunteered with an al-Qaeda-linked group. There's also a Senate candidate in Maine. We'll talk more about him later, who allegedly had what many have described as a Nazi-inspired tattoo. Another popular Democrat, a mayor of Gotham, who has refused to attend the Israel Day parade, first time that's happened in over 60 years, and countless other examples of heated rhetoric from other Democratic lawmakers toward the Jewish state, and some have even argued seemingly sympathetic toward radical Islam. I mean, who could forget some people did something? Now, again, tonight, Hamawy's critics say voters deserve answers about how he ended up basically volunteering for this alleged extremist, and of course, what that says about him and the party backing him come this November. Now, you mentioned we did get a statement. I just want to share a very, very quick line here at the bottom. It says, this story, talking about his ties to an alleged extremist, this story originated on a designated hate group's blog. These bad faith, guilt by association attacks on Muslim and Arab candidates are nothing new in our politics. They say he's a patriot. They say he'll stay in the race. But it does say a lot about his party, seemingly so, Sean.
All right, Kevin, thank you for that very informative report. Very bad news for Democrats. They are backing the most radical and extreme candidates. In California, by the way, our friends Steve Hilton and Spencer Pratt are both advancing to the general election, barring, of course, any shenanigans from the local government. They expect to be counting votes now for days. There are 3 million uncounted votes in California, days, not like tomorrow. How is that possible? It is yet another California and Gavin Newsom disaster. Now, in fact, in the governor's race, Republican Steve Hilton is now in the lead. And in Los Angeles, Spencer Pratt easily bested a radical far-left city councilwoman who was left in tears during last night's results. Back on the East Coast, there might be soon more tears from Maine's Democratic Senator Graham Platner, who is now embroiled in yet another scandal. The far-left Senate candidate who once claimed his Nazi tattoo was a mistake and he had no idea what it meant, just got caught in a now-deleted social media post admiring the cool German helmets of Nazi-allied soldiers in World War II. We did reach out to his campaign for comment on the new revelation. I don't know. They haven't got back to us. It seems like someone with a deep appreciation for World War II and history would understand the significance of an SS tattoo. Now, meanwhile, after getting caught, well, bragging about cocaine use while on leave during his time in the Marines, along with, of course, the news about a sketchy, shirtless social media profile on this very sketchy website, a stated love of pleasuring himself in porta potties. Well, Graham Platner still has his defenders all over the Democratic Party. In fact, crazy Bernie Sanders is not worried at all about his character, just if he's devoted to socialism, statism, communism. Take a look.
Are you worried about anything else coming out about him?
I don't know. All I can say is, look, I'm sure he's not a saint. And by the way, let's not forget, he has acknowledged this guy served 4 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. He went through some very bloody and horrible situations. I just think, and by the way, I met his wife, Amy, who is a very lovely young woman. She is standing by her husband. And I think it's better for this country that we start focusing on the enormous crises facing working people, a corrupt political system, than spending so much time worrying about, the personal life of an individual.
Now that he's an avowed communist, how could Bernie be against him? President Trump, he had a very different take. Take a look.
Now, the Democrats have got a huge problem. Graham Platner in Maine is one example, that terrible Senate candidate.
Well, he's a major sleazebag. I mean, you look at him.
Yeah.
Can't imagine that but yet he's up in the polls against Susan Collins. But she's always down in the polls, and, she survives. But
they have James Tallarico in Texas. They have
I think
Tim
he's one of the
Walz.
worst candidates. Actually, I think Tallarico is worse. You want to know the two of them? I think Tallarico's probably worse.
Now, tonight, there are very real fears that Platner, Tallarico, other radical Democrats are now running the party's, apparatus from top to bottom, and nobody dare take them on, and that they are really in control of the party at this point. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.